to Tousi. This is not OnlyFans, this is YouTube.
Although we do have an OnlyFans account.
It's called Tousi TV Plus.
Right, Maya, can I just ask you a question? We've been to a conference, and the reason why we're getting drunk in the pub is because we heard one of the worst speeches I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Do not name the person.
We can't name that person, okay.
Unnamed Conservative MP.
So, let's just say, this update is simply about the new revelation, which is not really new, about what the Tory party is actually going through now. What are they thinking in opposition? Have they woken up? Have they realized what the solution should be? Apparently not, because Kemi Badenoch, as leader, she's going around coming up with the most boring press conferences. But not only her, we've spoken to a couple of SPADs, also another Tory MP. We're at in case you don't know, we're at the Margaret Thatcher Centre conference.
Well, we're not, are we? Let's be honest.
No, we're in a pub. We're in a pub. They asked us to come and speak. Firstly, they told me to come and talk about new media. But they put me on a panel with GB News and LBC, specifically Ian Dale. So that didn't go well. New media.
Well, I dare you to tell them what you think of Ian Dale. Right.
Ian Dale is a nice man.
He is genuinely a nice bloke.
He's just a wet blanket.
It's just if you want advice on new media, I would suggest ignore Dale and ask his cat. Right? That would be probably.
Yeah, so that was happening. But then certain Tory MP, the Tories are there, and over the last few days, I've been speaking to special advisors and people close to the leadership, Kemi Badenoch. How do we describe them not getting it? What did this MP say earlier?
Okay. So I'll be serious for a second, and thank you so much for watching, both of us. Here is the reason why Maya asked us to do the live stream. On a serious note, they fundamentally misunderstood the problem. So there was this really nice Tory MP that we're mates with, and the reason I don't want to name him is because he's actually quite a good bloke.
He's a good man, but
and somebody basically went,
doesn't get it.
Why, what's going on? The Tory party need to apologise. I went, clearly we've done stuff wrong. And when I got up in my presentation, I went, the reality, there's a herd of wildebeest going past. But I turned around and I said, you fundamentally misunderstand the problem. You know what I said, Maya, just to tell everybody watching? I said, I understand David Cameron's mistake. In 2010, to be fair, we all thought it was a financial problem. The real problem was Blair changing the whole system or whatever. That's fine. By the time Cameron realised he'd cocked it up, it was too late. But you've got to admit it now.
It is absolutely spot on. As Andrea said on the panel, the problem we were told it's just economics. But obviously that's the foundation of the country. But there were constitutional attacks by the New Labour under Blair, and since then the wave has changed. The rest of the world is waking up, even in Europe, in the US with the MAGA movements, Trump, Canada with the Conservatives. Here, the Tories. Okay, there was a situation earlier at this conference. There was a person who stood up in the audience, asked a question, very aggressive against the Tory MP, saying, you guys should be ashamed, 14 years, will you apologise? Basically, angry person. You have two options, three options. The MP went with the third option. One option would be, you could hit back, you could be robust. I mean, whether you're right or wrong is irrelevant. Hit back. Or you could say, yes, I'm sorry, we have to. Just be honest, basically. Don't even say I'm sorry, just be like, we messed up. Or the third option, which you shouldn't go with, but he went with that, which was, there was no answer, was it? He was just basically saying, Labour government, Starmer, we need to regroup. What does that even mean?
Can I ask you a question though, Maya? So, you weren't on the panel with me, but here was the central thing I said, and I was pretty fruity in the comments that I made. I said, and I genuinely believe, that businesses like yours and little businesses like mine, I think we're like the local papers of the 1950s or whatever, right? You might disagree with that.
Independent,
independent, working for a particular cause. I think that we and our viewers, and you've got more than mine, but we and our viewers are actually standing up for, decent people, and we're taking the fight back to people. Now, at the end of the day, Maya, this is a business, right? But at the same time, I actually think that your business provides people with a voice. My concern is, the MPs, the House of Lords, the mainstream media, none of them are doing anything.
Yeah.
And we're on our own. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and because the panel I was on, which again I was put on with GB News and LBC for some reason, it was fascinating that they spend a lot of time attacking other independent people. So whether I don't know, whether it's Lawrence Fox or the likes of Tom Robinson and everybody else, and they were saying how obviously you have to be responsible. There was someone who stood up and said something about, but you actually that person said, but how do you guys stop yourself? Because you guys could go too far with sensationalism and like basically not
He
facts.
accused us of being liars, actually.
Liars, basically, that's being liars. And they're saying, but if you were the Guardian or the BBC, you wouldn't lie. I'm like, so you need more regulation, basically, which makes no sense because both you and Dan Wootton were saying, well, actually, those guys lie more.
Well, I'll tell you something that's happened to me. I ran a story once on my channel that it wasn't wrong, but there was a couple of mistakes in it. And can I tell you something? I was devastated. I wasn't lying, right? It was to do with the number of people that had been exposed in a criminal case. I said it was 5, it was 2, or it was a very minor mistake. I was devastated. I believe that you would be devastated. BBC don't care. I mean, the BBC monitoring person lied on a CV, right?
Well, it happens all the time. And in fact, because we're not regulated, well, apart from the fact that Ofcom is now coming for us, it's not only if we make a mistake, and actually a few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, I made a mistake of showing an image. It was something happening in Syria. The image was from like weeks before, accidentally showed that as this is ongoing now. And obviously I apologize loud that, by the way, to clarify, that was from before. But if those mistakes happen a lot, or you lie on purpose, we have the invisible hand in the market. So we would go down. You guys would say, this person is no longer credible. Because we're independent, yeah, we have our freedoms, but actually, if we mess up, you guys will leave us.
But I thought there was a brilliant point. It wasn't made by me, it was made by Dan Wootton, and I wish I'd made this point. What he said, you believe, and we're in the pub, by the way, so sorry for the background noise, but what Dan Wootton said was this. He said, you believe that regulation is truth. He said, if you look at during the coronavirus thing, Ofcom was requiring us to be dishonest.
To lie, yeah.
Requiring us to lie. Can I tell you something about coronavirus? It was really easy. First of all, there were theories about China that should have been explored. Secondly, can I tell you something else? I don't care what you think about vaccinations. I don't care. Right? No medical procedure is 100% safe. Yeah. Right?
Especially when it's rushed.
so there's no harm in saying, was it rushed? Should it be taken long? No harm in you will be thrown off social media if you don't claim that a vaccination is 100%. Well, no medical procedure is 100% safe. That was ludicrous by Ofcom. Absolutely ludicrous.
They're regulating to lie, so they themselves were lying. And then it's quite interesting is that Dan Wootton went to Tommy's trial yesterday. It was yesterday, whenever it was. And he was saying how Ezra Levant from Rebel News went to the press gallery. He came all the way from Canada to report it. But it was interesting because Dan was saying Ezra was sitting next to his Guardian journalist, and the Guardian journalist assumed Ezra is a mainstream media guy. So he was like looking at, because there were other people in the gallery, like Tommy supporters and everybody else. He was saying, Ezra, no, wait. So he went to Ezra. Look at all these fake journalists, fake, like with the arrogance of the Western.
Well, can I say something to your viewers? And I assume they know this already, but let's just remind ourselves. The Tousi channel doesn't have a trust that was given to them in the Victorian period. Okay, this is a profitable business, but you're not a billionaire, right? You don't have a family trust fund behind you or anything like that. And actually, when a journalist from a news outlet that's making a big loss starts telling us we're not proper journalists when we've got profitable businesses, okay, at the end of the day, you're not running around in a Lamborghini, and neither am I. But at the end of the day, these are profitable businesses. They're proper journalistic businesses.
Yeah, it is. To finish this, you're going back to the Tory party. Isn't it interesting? I mean, you were a Tory for a long time, longer than me, because he's decades and decades and decades older than me. But and I was a Tory when I was young and naive. But it kind of gave me what we've been hearing from the Tory MPs and these guys. on the one hand, it's like the same vibe that we were getting in 2005 and 2010, but back then it was fine, or it seemed fine, or it was appropriate. Just like, very polished, professional, boring, kind of safe pair of hands. Is it the same that it's no longer appropriate, or have they gotten worse than?
No, let me tell you a fact. You and I wanted to be journalists at the big newspapers and all that sort of thing. Have your own BBC show and all. That's what we wanted to do. And at the end of the day, what has happened is this. There's no point in saving Newsnight. There's no point in saving the Tory party. All you're doing is doing it for the sake of saving it, right? For me, honestly, now, the way to push forward media is what we're doing, and the way to push forward conservatism is this fracture that's taking place. Do you know something? I've always said this. We shouldn't pick ourselves off one by one. I don't agree with everything Tommy Robinson said, but you know what? There's a billion lefties to have a go at him. I genuinely think that the truth of the matter is the Tory party believes it should exist because it believes it should exist.
It's entitlement.
Exactly.
It's entitlement, and that's the problem. And there are good people in the Tory party. There's still conservative leading people. People who are trying to work hard, like Robert Jenrick. In Parliament, he's actually very proactive.
Do you know,
but the others, the rest of them, it's just...
Can I interrupt you? I was speaking to a brilliant conservative woman, right? And she said to me, I said to her, listen, if you join Reform, you'll get a seat in the House of Lords. And she said, oh, the Tories will do it. I said, they won't. I said, if I was to give you a list of the past 100 nominees the Conservatives have put in for the House of Lords, you would have a better CV than all of them. Your job is not to go there. Your job is to shine up the reputation of the wankers they like. And that is the truth.
Yeah, unless the so-called deep state of the Tory party, which is CCHQ, gets completely cleaned out, then nothing will change. The final question, Gareth Fox, who has basically been one of the dinosaurs of CCHQ, has been the head of is in charge of who's going to be a candidate to be a Tory MP. We've been hearing that he's been leaving. Has he left, do you know?
Okay, I'm going to say this, and this can be an exclusive for the Tousi channel. Not only has Gareth Fox left, but there are now serious allegations against him. And I'm going to say what those allegations are. I'm just going to tell you because he's not been charged. The suggestion is that as a result, so first of all, the people that he picked to be candidates were terrible.
Yeah.
There is some evidence, now I can't besmirch Mr. Fox because I don't know, there's some evidence that the FSB Russia was attempting to infiltrate candidate selection in the Labour Party, the Conservative Party and the Liberal Democrats in order to ensure that only terrible people became MPs. Now, let's just leave it there. Gareth Fox is, he's left, right?
People could get allegedly compromised.
There is no suggestion whatsoever that anybody said that he took money from a foreign agency in order to get rid of the good people. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody. No, absolutely not. Perish the thought.
Allegedly.
I mean, to be fair, I don't believe this criminal investigation will go anywhere, but I have to say, to have these people imposing candidates on local communities was dreadful.
Yeah, I mean,
and Labour were worse.
All we know is the result and the outcome of people like Gareth Fox, who were in charge of the candidate selection for the past few decades. Tory candidates who became baseball candidates and became Tory MPs have been poor and weak. Whether it's Russia, or maybe North Korea did it, or whoever did it, the result is the important thing.
I will tell you something. When we were trying to get a new member of Parliament in Windsor, so it's a safe Conservative seat, we took that process very seriously. They hounded us for months and months and months. In the end, we did manage to get a decent person in, but it was a nightmare.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, we're going to go back, and then, Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.